Hello again, everybody. I am Mayor Watt, and this is Non Sequitur News for November 29th, 2024, Season 3, Episode 334. We're trying this again. No clue as to what happened earlier, but we're going to talk about 10 news articles. Cucumber recall, baby shark keeps homeless away, Vasco da Gama's last voyage, the UK Cybertruck, bold move cotton, passengers go on hunger strike, converting cars to run on seaweed, Meta plans a subsea, I don't know why it's typed out subsea, anyway, cable around the world, and ByteDance sues an intern, and a bus-sized asteroid, or an asteroid-sized bus coming at Earth, and the anti-competitive ad practices, says Canada. Again, I am Mayor Watt. That is ohmTown over there. And go over there, become a citizen. I am actually I'm steaming right now because I don't know what's going on that's causing this. But we are going to, all signs point to everything's good. So, of course, I said that 45 minutes ago. Anyway, let's get into it. Except I didn't start the stream on YouTube at all. That's okay.
Well, okay then.
So the live stream is going live over on YouTube right now, but I'll be porting over the full video because that's just the workflow because of the way that YouTube works with live streams and discoverability and all of that kind of stuff. At any rate, it's Friday, and I can't say that I've been drinking. And now when I put my hands up, I feel like I'm a Muppet. Anyway, hello sentient AI. We're doing this again. We're doing it live.
Round 2. Hello, Mayor Watt.
Wait. Second verse, same as the first. Let's get into it. I had come up with some witticisms, and the amount of wisdom that I imparted.
Frisky turkeys were being discussed.
Oh, God. Yeah, so many non sequiturs. Anyway, a cucumber recall sparks salmonella warning. I even gave some advice. I described Canada to people who have never seen Canada.
Talked about etymology of the name.
Man, it was beautiful. Beautiful. Anyway, I'm just going to steam on through this. So, Ayla Slisko over at Newsweek.com put this article together about cucumber recall sparks salmonella warning in 26 states and parts of Canada. We do these PSAs because not everybody gets all of the news everywhere, and because Non Sequitur News and ohmTown.com in general, because Non Sequitur News is spun off of all of the news that goes through ohmTown. It tends to be holistic as well, and so sometimes we'll mention something outside the United States because it has applicability, and I don't know. I don't like the same-o all the time, so I always change it up a little bit. So this time it's a little bit different. I mean, my presentations in the real world out there, when I do them, are unique every time I do them, even though they tend to be scripted in the real world. They never end up being scripted. They're just a quick rundown, and that's kind of how the show is. So at any rate, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration on Thanksgiving Day sent out a warning to consumers that they should not consume or otherwise use Sun-Fed brand bulk American cucumbers that were recalled on the previous day. The cucumbers were sold in bulk cardboard containers that include a Sun-Fed label and a generic white boxes and black plastic crates that include a sticker with the text agrotato, which I guess is an angry potato.
I wonder if it's hanging out with the frisky turkeys.
They're both walking up. Apparently, even the cucumbers are walking up going, "Come at me, bro," because the salmonella contamination. This is apparently across 26 states. I'm not even going to go through them because it's from A to W.
Basically, you have almost a 50% chance that your state is affected if you're in the U.S.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that I have not eaten any cucumbers. I don't know if I've had a salad. Oh boy. Oh no. Okay. Well, anyway. Wow. Did not know that. So cucumbers who purchased customers. I flipped that
Oh,
around.
those are some pretty wild cucumbers.
They are. So customers who purchase cucumbers should either throw them away, destroy them, which is throwing them away, or like I destroyed mine by eating them.
Right, they don't want you to do that.
Yeah, or return them to the point of purchase for a refund, which is what you really should do. Anyone with a recalled product in their possession should not consume, serve, sell, use, or distribute recalled products, which is the no shit news for 8:21 p.m. on the East Coast of the United States. Welcome.
Heard it here first.
Yeah, and if you have questions, call SunFed over the phone at 888-542-5849 on Monday, Monday to Friday, because they're closed now.
You
at
can't
least
get
5 p.m.
salmonella on the weekend.
No, if you just believe. Anyway, it'll all go away. Anyway, if you start feeling ill, contact a medical professional. Let's move on.
If you start doing anything odd around your family, maybe have them call.
Yeah. If you start clucking like a chicken. Anyway, let's move on. The next article is over in the Mobile Channel. Canadian Mall or Canadian Mall has been blaring Baby Shark for a year to keep homeless people away. And I don't know. Is this...
I mean, the Baby Shark piece is funny, but the purpose is not.
Yeah, kind of systemic assholery. Most of us know and hate the popular kids song Baby Shark, the one where it plays the same lyrics on a loop for what feels like hours, inevitably getting stuck in your head. Do you want me to do that?
No.
Okay. Anyway, now the shopping
watch
center.
out for the earworm.
Yeah, really. So now the shopping center. No, I mean like what you're doing. Do you want me to? No. Okay. Anyway, now the shopping center in downtown Montreal called whatever Complex Desjardins. Hey.
It
Anyway,
sounds very nice.
maybe it's Desjardins. I don't know. Is using the dreaded earworm to deter homeless people, an act that's causing outrage. But they've been doing it for a year, and I wonder if this is an old article that's been resurrected by something demon-like in the internets. Because I swear we've talked about this before, where people are blaring music to try and keep the homeless away. I don't know. This is a societal issue. Not everybody has the means to get a home or a job, have issues, concerns, whatever.
Right, they might have mental health issues, physical health issues.
Yeah. But I feel like the sociopaths just want to go, well, you know what we should do? We should send them to work in Mars. Yeah, you're not twisted when you say stuff like that. No, not at all. Quoted as a solution to security issues, this tactic, which involves playing the song over and over at various speeds, allegedly led to improvement over the past year.
I bet they lost customers too.
Maybe just the loud music. So it may not be going all the time there, right? Some view Baby Shark as cruel and unusual response to the problem. This is from Sammy Caramella over at Vice.com. Yeah, I suppose like...
I think trying to get rid of people is a problem. Like, let's maybe try to tackle what is causing the problem.
Yeah,
I don't know, try to help people. But I know it's every single person out there can't make a significant impact in that. But like you said, it's a societal issue.
So it says Turcotte, on the other hand, claims Desjardins employs social workers who ensure a dialogue with unhoused individuals in the area. Their aim is not to coerce, but to support these people, he said. In the paragraph above this, it says it isn't possible to resolve the complexities of homelessness by using juvenile tactics that are conceived by to exclude people, Watts said. Watts is Sam Watts, CEO of Welcome Hall Mission and advocate for unhoused individuals. You don't solve the problem by displacing a problem. The answer is to do the things that are going to further make people who are vulnerable even more vulnerable. That's not the answer. You just don't do it. But it's the same sociopathic bullshit mindset that says, let's ship these people to another state.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which would be fine if the other state had the resources and whatnot. But what their solution is to just displace them somewhere else and then drop them off. See you later. And that's the equivalent of this, except hyper local. These people are like, well, they're not in my backyard, so screw them even more, right? Like once I get them out of my backyard.
Right, then it's the next mall or the next city or whatever problem.
It's 2 blocks over. It doesn't really matter. The people are the concern that really should be receiving resources. But there's a lot of sociopaths in the world that believe that it's not a societal problem, but that individual's problem. If it was that individual's problem, then I could see that homelessness would not be an issue, right? Well, you can get that person a job and then they can go and move on, blah, 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 blah. But none of that resources is there. And all it takes is one bad thing happening. You could get sick. It lays you low. You don't have the ability to survive. You lose your house. You end up going into survival mode.
Medical debt is like the biggest thing that completely turns somebody's existence around, and usually for the negative.
Yeah, and there's zero means to get an income, and it's not like there's anything that is inexpensive around a city. You can't just get an apartment. Anyway, it's just twisted, but I'm sure that I'll get an email or a phone call or a text or something like that where they're like, well, look, we just can't have them around our building. You know what? I'm sure that there's enough space in your building where you could actually have them
set up a shelter or
one whole floor. Oh, well, that's
give people jobs or I don't know.
If I donate an entire floor, then anyway, it's a societal issue. Let's move on. The next article is over on the Marble Channel. Archaeologists suspect shipwreck found near Kenya may be from Vasco da Gama's last voyage. A pair of archaeologists with the University of Coimbra, working with a colleague from the National Museum of Kenya and another from Bergen Maritime Museum, believe a shipwreck found near the southernmost part of the African coast might be the remains of the galleon. Is that pronounced just Sao or Sao? Sao George? Sao
George? Right. Sao, probably like Sao Paulo.
Yeah.
I cannot speak
like
today.
Sao Paulo, right? Yeah. And I guess it might be Jorge or George. I don't know.
I would have said Jorge, but...
Anyway, a Portuguese ship believed to have sunk during famed explorer Vasco da Gama's final voyage. So the article is over at phys.org, put together by Bob Yurka from phys.org. And it says in their paper published in the Journal of Maritime Archaeology, again, another representative of there is a journal for everything. F. Castro, J. Pizarro, C. Bida, and B. Frabetta describe how they studied materials retrieved from the wreck by previous researchers and timbers they retrieved themselves to learn more about the ship and its history. In 2013, a sunken ship was discovered off the coast of Kenya near the town of Melinda, approximately 500 meters offshore and just 6 meters down. Dude.
I mean, it wasn't under sediment, I guess.
Or erosion wiped enough of it away so that you could actually see this. But just 6 meters down, it's an 18-foot dive, which means that you can sit there forever.
I guess nobody ever dove in that area or didn't report it.
It has to be just the tip of the mast or something, right? Study of the wreck has been difficult due to its condition and location. It probably weathered quite a bit away. And it came to rest on a coral reef 500 years ago. 500. Over the years, the ship has settled onto the reef, making study of it a difficult proposition. It's pretty cool. Evidence thus far suggests the ship is likely the galleon Sao George, or Jorge. I'm not sure how it's pronounced, because we've had some issues, we'll say.
We had one of our article's authors as George Jimenez, but I insisted that it was Jorge Jimenez until Mayor Watt corrected me.
You're from the future. Maybe they say George wrong or differently. But it was interesting. It was a fun discussion. And then later on, the actual author said their name out loud, and you're like, oh, well, never mind. So he's believed to have been the first European to sail around the southernmost tip of Africa, bringing him and his crew into the Indian Ocean. His first voyage was in 1497, and his last was in 1524. So pretty cool. Anyway, that's kind of apparently what it looked like.
Is that why you brought up in the first version of today's show, Amerigo Vespucci?
No, it was because back at the very top here, this warning about salmonella, Canada is actually named after the Iroquois word for pristine land or something like that. I can't remember now. Anyway, it's Kanata. And it was transliterated into Canada when they named it. So I thought it was interesting. So that's why I chose it.
Means village or settlement.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So let's keep trucking. Get it? Because we're going to talk about the UK's first Cybertruck.
I'm not sure the Cybertruck is trucking.
Yeah, I don't. Well, it's apparently terrorizing the streets of America. The Tesla truck has finally made its way across the pond. UK's first Cybertruck is doing about as well as you'd expect.
Okay. Why might this be an issue? I'm thinking maybe the narrow roads.
Okay. And? Anything else?
That's all. I think that's enough. Oh, and I'm also thinking about the boot that they like to give cars that are parked in the wrong area, but I don't really know. I was thinking the narrow roads.
Mega ones for the...
Yeah.
Anyway, so after almost a year terrorizing the streets of America, the Tesla Cybertruck has finally made its way across the pond and into the hands of a buyer in the UK, and the gargantuan truck has let loose on the streets of Britain, and the experience for its new owner has been far from plain sailing. You gotta be a real ass to drive a Cybertruck anywhere in the UK. It's wider than 99% of the frickin' streets. You have to be a real sociopath douchebag.
And it doesn't get a lot of praise in the US, so I can imagine it might be worse outside of the US.
So it says something in this image is wrong, and it's because they're on the wrong side of the street, right? But this has to be a very unique location because that's lot like of the
widest road in the UK that has ever been located.
Yeah. So, and they just happen to be on it to highlight the fact that it's a narrow enough street. Anyway, so the truck in question was brought to the country by Yanni Caralambus, yeah, whatever, who runs a network of car shops and wrapping studios across the UK, as well as a pretty fun YouTube channel. It's over on YouTube where they've been documenting his time on Cybertruck. Oh, so it's attention. It's all about attention, right? The dumpster fire.
Okay, yeah, that's different than just somebody driving it because they want one.
But it's a fun YouTube channel, so I'm sure they get a pass. So the first privately owned Cybertruck on British roads had quite the journey to make it there. Despite Elon Musk reaching the end of his pre-order list, you can't just walk into a Tesla dealer in London and buy one of these trucks. So it was imported. And I don't know. Yeah, there's really just one reason to drive this around in the UK, and that's attention.
Views.
Yeah, it's the views. So the problems start when he tries to charge at a Tesla dealer, where despite numerous adapters and assistance from staff, he can't get the truck to charge up. There's also issues with the car's software, which isn't set up for UK roads. And the Cybertruck and its navigation system are stuck in California. I'm sure that's not annoying at all when navigating London's difficult maze of narrow streets, bus lanes, one-way systems. Thankfully, the techies, Caralambus, speaks with, assure him that the software update should fix that. Just don't get it wet. So there it is, parked, trying to charge, and it's stretching out into the parking lot itself.
Right. So, and then it says also that the dealers don't have access to any files on this truck.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and it has no safety record. This thing has never been tested for any safety. So it says
in the last 24 hours, there's been, like, it seems like every time there's a headline about it, it's something negative for safety.
Oh, there's something new? What?
Yeah, it just was, there was a Cybertruck crash and it had a negative result. And I mean, a lot of modern cars and trucks do well in crashes because, you know, they've been safety tested, etc. Yeah, so I don't know all the details. I just saw a headline in ohmTown.
Yeah, this rolling junk heap for $100,000 or more. Anyway, they claim that once he sorted the registration for the car, it'll kick off an influx of Cybertrucks into UK roads. After his experience over the 16-minute video and other complaints people online have had while driving their trucks in America, where they're covered by Tesla support and services, the author of this article says that I'm not sure that'll be the case. But I don't know.
That's interesting. It said that the school kids were pointing and laughing at it. So that's about the type of reaction I think it gets in the US from some adults.
Yep. And I'm sure some kids are like, oh, cool. But it's nothing about the dude that, you know, runs this shit is original. And so anyway, Owen Bellwood over at Jalopnik put the article together. Let's keep on moving. So the next article is over in Non Sequitur News. Cruise ship passengers go on hunger strike. A group of passengers on board a luxury Antarctic cruise ship staged a hunger strike after the trip was cut short before they reached the continent.
I don't think I've ever heard of this occurring on a cruise ship.
A hunger strike on a cruise ship? You know that all you're doing is saving the ship money, right?
Well, and actually, you're being wasteful because if you think about how many items of food are going to go,
waste, maybe
get disposed of or whatever.
Yep. Tia Shepard put the article together for Newsweek.com. And it says, while the company offered the ship's 170 passengers a choice of compensation options, some were disgruntled by the decision not to provide a full refund and began refusing food in an effort to pressure the cruise line's executives. That's not going to do jack shit.
This is so odd. I mean, you think of people conducting hunger strikes in some pretty austere conditions, right? Like maybe they're perceived as being falsely imprisoned or something. These people are on a cruise ship. I get that if your whole point is to go to Antarctica and you don't go, you're going to be pretty mad. But a hunger strike?
Yeah. Yeah, they've been politically, they're going to end up seeking culinary, political, what, they're going to, culinary
asylum. You heard it here first.
Three Russian guests. Trend. Yeah, exactly. 3 Russian guests took part in the strike, displaying signs demanding that they be reimbursed entirely for the cost of the trip, which stands at between 7,000 and 10,000 pounds, according to the Times. So it was headed to Antarctica via the remote island of South Georgia when it suffered an unexpected malfunction during day 14 of the 3-week cruise. So I don't know if the only objective was to go to Antarctica.
Right. You should get a full refund. I mean, no question. Like, that is probably the destination. I'm assuming they were at sea for the whole cruise, other than when they actually get to Antarctica.
Yeah. So they didn't make any other stops. All they did was charter down to, it set off from Cape Town, South Africa, headed towards Antarctica via the remote island of South Georgia when it suffered this malfunction. I guess at South Georgia, they're like, sorry, we got to turn around. And they only had a week left. So what really can, I mean,
Well, there's not much between Cape Town and Antarctica. I mean, there's like a small island or so, but I mean, it's pretty much just ocean.
interesting. So, yeah, I would be pissed. Hunger strike is probably the least of my concerns. In fact, I would eat like it was my last meal every night, like just
Well,
pound it all
exactly.
down.
I'm going to get a little bit more money back.
But you're not going to get jack shit back while you're on a boat. It's going to turn into a legal, peeing for distance contest. The whole point of the trip was to step foot on the seventh continent, one passenger wrote. Yeah, I agree. And these people deserve their money back because the whole objective was to reach a destination. I shouldn't have to suffer because you had a mechanical failure and just because we went 99% of the way. Well, thanks for the trip to nowhere,
Right. I mean, they do have those, but those are usually low fares because you're not really going anywhere, but you are getting, lodging and meals and everything.
Yeah. And they say 3.5 days in the Antarctic Peninsula had to be curtailed for safety reasons. Yeah. So they went almost all the way there only to be turned back. 4-day itinerary in Antarctica featured visits to Elephant Island, Heroina Island, I guess it is, Paulette Island, Brown Bluff. So they would have stopped at these places in 4 days. But the whole objective was to get there. So they should get their money back. Yeah, I don't get this. This is kind of bananas.
I mean, this is just really extreme. But why not just get back and then pursue the refund? I mean, honestly, this article alone is probably going to end up getting people a refund just because all the bad press.
Yeah, as expected, not all guests were immediately satisfied with this compensation and have tried to build up pressure through discussion on board and by making demands on the captain and senior staff to obtain an even higher compensation for themselves because they're going to give back 65%.
Wait a second. They were given 50% back, but then there's a chance to do a 65% credit down the road.
Right. So the full thing is after canceling what was left of the voyage, Swan Hellenic offered guests a 50% cash refund on the price of the cruise, noting that this was significantly higher than the legal requirement of approximately 30%.
They're missing the point here. I'm sure somebody's calculating something like, oh, they had so many nights of lodging or so many days of food or whatever, but they're missing the point. If the destination was Antarctica, they got 0% of that.
Yeah, again, it's like I said, just because you happen to be idling on a boat for 99% of the time before stepping off onto the land because they wouldn't let you leave the boat, it doesn't mean that you should have to pay 99% of the bill. The whole objective was to, touch grass in Antarctica.
They could have come out so ahead of this. Companies, when they face problems, if they do right by the customers, end up getting praised and get positive press. I don't know.
Wow. So currently only one passenger remains on a hunger strike. Damn it, I'm not going to eat my broccoli. You can't make me, Mom. Look, you lost.
I mean, are they selectively hunger striking?
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot of food options on a cruise. So they're like, I don't want the seated dinner, but I will take the chocolate fountain or whatever.
The curveball here is that one person on a hunger strike is actually on a weight loss control diet. So Anyway.
Like, mark me down for hunger strike, and meanwhile they were
Yeah.
doing intermittent fasting or something.
Yeah. Anyway, so they're going to get fixed, and who knows what's actually going to come of this, but I think a hunger strike is probably the dumbest thing. It's been documented that you never met your destination, and any attorney, any judge is going to sit there worth their, if they have any cred at all, like any critical thinking, I should say, not cred. If they have any.
Well, that too.
Yeah. All right, let's just keep moving. Today's a wonky show, let me tell you. So the next article is over in Non Sequitur News. Scientists converting cars to run on an invasive seaweed. The situation has become dire that Barbados Prime Minister Mia Mottley declared the invasion a national emergency in 2018 of an invasive seaweed that have rendered popular beaches on the Caribbean into an unsightly mess. Mountains of brown, sludgy sargassum, an invasive species of seaweed, which, how is that? Doesn't nature just propel this shit everywhere?
Yeah, but isn't this like part of that bigger, like, floating pile of yucky seaweed that we've reported on previously, or no?
It does match. Yeah, could very well be. Victor Tangerman over at The Bite, which is a segment over on futurism.com, put this article together, and it says biogas boon. The team at the University of West Indies in Barbados developed a conversion kit that can turn a conventional gas-powered car into one that runs on the seaweed product for just $2,500. Holy crap.
This is brilliant if this works and doesn't leave some bad bat byproduct or something.
This is amazing. Tourism has suffered a lot from the seaweed. Hotels have been spending millions on tackling it. UWI lecturer and renewable energy expert Lagina Henry told the BBC the team combined rum distillery wastewater with sargassum inside a bioreactor and found that it produced plenty of usable biogas. Okay. The wastewater from a distillery. What is that? There isn't much water other than through the cooling system, because as the distillery runs, it generates steam that runs through the pipe. There is a stack where the steam from the kettle goes through, and there's little boiler plates basically within it. Bubblers are what it's really referred to as. And so eventually it goes to a little arm that gets cooled and condenses the steam back into alcohol, right, from gas.
It says that there should be water and organic material from the mash left over, and then normally they would throw it onto a sugarcane field.
But that isn't that isn't water. What they boil is fermented whatever. You can ferment pretty much damn near anything and then boil it into a spirit. But that's interesting. So it says within just 2 weeks, we got plenty of good results. UWI student Brittany McKenzie, who was tasked with collecting the seaweed, told the broadcaster it was turning into something even bigger than we initially thought. So now you can use this sargassum-based biofuel. It says it won't be a magic fix for the growing environmental crisis, which is climate change in general. By repurposing it in vehicles, you protect tourism and prevent people from inhaling it because it's nasty stuff, hydrogen sulfide that is released when the sargassum decomposes enough. But it's a biogas to begin with. So, but pretty neat. It says their goal is to build up this region. We're now setting up a 4-car pilot to demonstrate real-life working prototypes to convince funders that this is workable and scalable.
This is really cool. Plus, if the wastewater right now is kind of just disposed of or whatever, that's also like kind of tackling that problem. It seems like it's tackling 3 issues.
Yeah, and the biological stuff, that the organic matter that's at the bottom of a kettle when it's done doing its run, So there's a stripping run that pulls everything out of it, and then you do additional runs to clean it up and raise the percentage, the ABV. But the organic matter that's left over has been basically turned into a pulp that you can spread, and the remaining organic matter is actually nutritive. The water that you can squeeze out is just water. It really doesn't have much to it. But here's the thing about this. If they actually do this and make it work, all you have to do is let seaweed grow and harvest it. It's growing like a weed because it is, but they've been able to convert it into a biogas.
Right. I mean, think how, well, there's multiple wins if this can occur.
Yeah, I feel like we've talked about this before as an option, but I don't recall.
I don't think with this specifically. I think we've talked about other alternative fuels, but I don't believe seaweed.
Yeah, and there's three types of seaweed, three main types, because I know that we've talked about that before. Anyway, let's keep on going. This is pretty fascinating. We'll end up watching this. I don't know, again, why they call this a subsea. It's an undersea, but undersea just means in the water. Anyway,
Right.
Meta
It's a
plans to build.
fancy way to say it.
It's a big word, big, small word. Anyway, Meta plans to build a $10 billion subsea cable spanning the world, it says. Meta, the parent company of Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, which, anyway, I won't get into it, is the second biggest driver of internet usage globally. Its properties and their billions of users account for 10% of all fixed and 22% of all mobile traffic. Meta's investments in artificial intelligence stand to boost that usage even further. So the article is over at techcrunch.com. Ingrid London put the article together. There is no deck statement, I guess. And so it says TechCrunch has confirmed with sources close to the company that Meta plans to build a new major fiber optic subsea cable extending around the world, a 40,000 plus kilometer project that could total more than $10 billion of investment. Critically, Meta will be the sole owner and user of this subsea cable, a first for the company, and thus representing a milestone for its infrastructure efforts.
Yeah, but who's going to have access to it?
Anybody that wants to lease fast access. There are other companies that are doing this regionally. And the
Right, but
objective,
not like around the whole world.
right? But the real problem with this is that as people come on board, it's still going to meet its technological limit, which might have a massive amount of room, but there's only so much data. And it's really funny because everybody mocked this statement that it's a series of tubes, but it really is. You can't put 2.5 gigs in a 1 gig line, right? It just doesn't work that way. Everything slows down. The internet packet communication has to confirm and deny. It's basically a denial of service attack if you put too much information in too small a conduit. So you have to add more lines. Now, this thing could be so massive that it's not that big of a deal for many, many years, but eventually it'll hit a limit, but probably not before making billions for people. So what they plan to do is run this thing around places, which is really interesting. Some of the locations that they want to just do a little offshoot, and that's really what's going to happen. So it'll go from one point down to Cape Town, and there will be a data center that allows for exfiltration, infiltration of data.
Oh, okay. So it's not going to be entirely.
It won't be a band around it, so to speak.
Okay.
But it will, in that it's going to go from Virginia Beach on one side of the United States to Eureka and Grover Beach on the other side of the United States by way of the rest of the planet. Seems interesting. Seems something that I would be interested in this. It says the cable, when completed, would give Meta a dedicated pipe for data traffic around the world. And so it would act as a massive data line that is unfettered by... Okay, so here's how this works. What?
But would this be any different than existing data lines, which I know are regional, but is this going to do anything different other than in more areas?
Yes. So this cable would allow for fast data to be, or data to be quickly moved into and out of Meta's data centers. And because it's nobody else is in this playground unless they pay to play, which already takes place, by the way. If I want to traverse somebody's network, I have to pay this, basically what amounts to a transfer fee. But on this, it would be theirs and they'd be in control of it, because what happened was they regulators basically hobbled the unfettered manipulation of data. They decided that they were going to take the data, and each network carved up their network to expedite their data versus everybody else's. And so what ends up happening is data slows down on different frontiers. As it enters somebody else's network, it's treated differently. And so with this, Meta would get their data as quickly as possible. But it is the antithesis, by the way, of the spirit of the internet. It was supposed to be a self-healing network in case of incident or accident. Well, just say incident, right? Nuclear war or some regional hostility that cuts a cable or whatever, sabotage, etc. Yeah, dragging a cable, your anchor so that it cuts the Finnish data lines and stuff like that. Anyway, that's kind of what this is going to resolve. Fiber optic subsea cables have been part of communication infrastructure for the last 40 years, well, ever since fiber optics came into existence. But subsea cables, ocean, transoceanic cables, have been around since the late 1800s. I don't know if any of those old school lines are still in play because they're heavy copper lines that degrade over time. But anyway, Meta's plans underscore how investment and ownership of subsea networks has shifted in recent years from consortiums involving telecom carriers to now including big tech giants. But this is all mergers and acquisitions. This is all acquisition and consolidation of power, political and financial. And to me, it just screams that we're moving towards a corporate, like cyberpunk. We're moving towards cyberpunk, which is not a good thing. It was designed to highlight corporateocracy and everyone being an indentured servant and dystopia. I mean, it was basically dystopian. But instead of pledging allegiance to a country, which in the 21st century, a lot of people think is not really the idealized existence, because the whole globe is made up of people, you're now paying fealty to corporate overlords. That's what cyberpunk was all about. And when something can be consolidated into just one organization owning it all, with no input, no control, no nothing, this is where the abuse happens, when the lights turn off. So why do they want to own it? It says for a number of reasons.
Money.
Yeah. First dibs and capacity to support traffic on its own properties. According to the earnings report, Meta makes more money outside of North America than in its home market, having priority on dedicated subsea cabling. And all it takes is somebody to get sick of their shit and cut the cable. So, yeah. Anyway.
Right. I don't think there's much competition in terms of somebody doing their own cable, but I agree. It doesn't take much to take the cable down.
So it basically said what I said. Having priority on their own dedicated subsea cabling can help ensure quality of service on that traffic. So there's carriage fees and stuff like that with using somebody else's network. When you traverse it, you have to pay. But my brain went blank and I forgot what it was called. But there used to be an act that forced ISPs and internet, anybody that was providing internet access, that they wouldn't tamper with the data. But my brain just went blank. So
I don't know what that is.
yeah, I can't remember. Maybe they'll say it in this. I don't know. Because it was an FCC thing. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, AI is a big part of Meta's infrastructure roadmap. Beyond that, India is a huge market for Meta, topping estimates as the country with the most users by far on Facebook. But they are one of the countries with the most users, for crying out loud. Short of China, they're the biggest, but anyway, that's why you see that it goes down to Cape Town, which basically is one of the tech centers for
Africa.
For Africa, yeah. And then it goes up to Mumbai, and then Chennai, and then Darwin, which is one of the hubs for data transfer because it's the closest to the main continents of the east coast of, Eastern Europe, and then back to the United States. Anyway, that's the rationale. All right, let's keep going, though. This next article is over on Non Sequitur News. ByteDance has sued a former intern for $1.1 million over claims that they sabotaged an AI training project. ByteDance has sued a former intern for $1.1 million per Chinese media reports. The TikTok owner claimed he sabotaged an AI model training project by modifying code. The company has a chatbot similar to OpenAI's chatbot called Daobao. Or Dubao.
I mean, this was an intern. How much damage could they have done?
Yeah, any intern should have somebody monitoring any commit that they do to the actual operational code. Nobody should be able to do anything. I mean, it should be freaking highlighted when somebody does an unauthorized commit. So the lawsuit filed in the Beijing District Court reportedly centers on claims that the ex-intern deliberately tampered with code for the company's AI model training tasks. Giotto Mann over at Business Insider put the article together. There is no deck statement. They have these takeaways that they say, but it's basically what we've already said. And ByteDance wants $1.1 million and a public apology. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure that this person's going to lose no matter what. Because...
Right. I mean, they're going up against ByteDance.
Right. Which is basically CCP, which is basically you do what they say. And they're not going to lose face by putting a lawsuit out publicly and then losing. I wonder how many ByteDance lawsuits domestically have been lost by ByteDance. That would be an interesting
I would guess a very low number, as in 0.
So the tech giant also said that its statement last month that reports of the former intern causing damage to about 8,000 specialist chips called GPUs. Don't bullshit me. Come on. A GPU specialist chip. Don't call it that. Just call it a GPU. A GPU is a graphics processing unit.
They must think their audience is not tech savvy.
I'm really curious how they damaged them. And racking up losses amounting to millions of dollars were exaggerated. So the tech giant even made the claim that so you can see that they're already, like, the public is being poison pilled that this person did damage, but that's not really what's going on. ByteDance operates China's most popular chatbot, Dubao, which is similar to OpenAI's ChatGPT. Anyway. So, and then they bring up the fact that TikTok is facing a ban in the United States, but that's probably not going to happen. Nothing to say, huh? This is one of those things like you're like, well, what's the outcome going to be? That's what I'm more curious about.
We don't know what the outcome is going to be, but I don't think it's going to actually go through. Yeah, I think it's going to get tied up in lawsuits for so long that it just kind of goes away.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this is going to get fast-tracked into a resolution of that person losing. Yeah. But we'll watch.
Oh, for the intern one, I don't think the intern wins here.
Oh, you mean the TikTok one?
Right.
Yeah. No, I think that it's probably going to get let go, and I don't know. A couple of people are going to personally benefit from the agreement because we're turning into an oligarchy. Sorry. Anyway, this next article is over in Non Sequitur News. NASA tracking bus-sized asteroid approaching Earth today. So, what would you rather have? An asteroid-sized bus or a bus-sized asteroid? It's kind of like do you want 1,000? Do you want 1,000 duck-sized horses kicking your ass, or one horse-sized duck kicking your ass?
Probably one horse-sized duck, because it might be easier to get away from it.
No, long strides, and they're real peckers.
This one, though, I don't know, because an asteroid. I think I'd rather have a bus-sized asteroid.
There's medication for it, so maybe you can just make it go away. The asteroid named 2024 WF5. They should have just named it WTF. Will come over twice as close to us as the moon at a distance of around 104,000 miles. Holy crap, that's real close. We found out about it like yesterday.
Right, and if we're a little off on our calculations, surprise.
Yeah, maybe a lawn dart hit this from some other planet. And so NASA video shows huge asteroid zooming past Earth. I think that's fascinating. Jess Thompson over at Newsweek.com put the article together. Hey, look, it's a surveillance balloon. No, that's a bus.
And they are measured in buses.
Apparently. So for reference, a U.S. school bus is about 35 to 45 feet long with a semi-trailer that's about 48 feet long, while a semi-trailer... This is such a kludgy sentence. For reference, a U.S. school bus is about 35... It says are between 35 and 45 feet long. So it depends on the school bus. But a truck, an 18-wheeler... which isn't a semi-trailer, anyway, the trailer is the bed part. The tractor is the truck part. So a tractor trailer is about 48 feet long. So
I guess the audience hasn't seen a school bus. Like, why throw in the semi-trailer reference?
Yeah. So this thing is apparently between, I'm going to round up, 20 and 43 feet across. So I don't know why they say between. Maybe it's got a little it's more like a potato with a narrower end. Anyway,
maybe they don't know really what it is. I mean, they're just kind of like, oh, looks like it might be like this.
Aliens. So the space potato is about to smash into us. Maybe, who knows? It might land in a Florida living room like that big old hunk of battery. There are also
That's definitely where it's expected.
There's apparently 4 other asteroids passing Earth's astronomical neighborhood in the coming days. Today, the 43-foot house-sized 2024 WZ will zoom past us at a distance of 899,000 miles, while the bus-sized 2018 DC-4, estimated to be about 39 feet across, will pass 4.47 million miles away, which that's not in our neighborhood anymore.
It sounds a little safer.
And tomorrow, 55-foot 2024 WS and 80-foot 2019 JN2 will pass us at distances of 1.5 and 2.2 million miles, respectively. So this thing is for roughly, let's just say it's a cube of 25 feet.
Right, exactly.
And it's 100,000 miles from us.
I mean, that seems a little too close for comfort.
Yeah, I'm saying bye to people right now, just in case it gets sucked in by gravity. I'm sure it's not. But anyway, let's move on. Last article for today, thankfully, I know. Non Sequitur News. Canada sues Google over alleged anti-competitive practices in online ads. Canada's antitrust watchdog is suing Google over alleged anti-competitive. So is it like aluminium is anti-competitive? It's anti-competitive. You have to throw in an extra.
That sounds like there's a potato in there.
Yep. Anti-competitive. Yeah, that one doesn't work. Anyway, they're anti-competitive conduct in the tech giant's online advertising business and wants the company to sell off 2 of its services and pay a penalty. So the U.S. is doing the same kind of thing. The article is over at the Associated Press. It's published by abcnews.go.com, though.
That's right. Was the recent one the US suing Google? Because I feel like we had a variation on this, but I know it wasn't this one.
Yeah, that's. I think that it's largely been put on the back burner because regulatory capture is going to guarantee that Google doesn't get broken up, and mergers and acquisitions are going to continue, and blah blah blah. It's going to continue to get owned by less and less people as the company acquires its stock back and stuff like that. You know, one of the most depressing things that I can imagine is, no, I can't say it because I'll dox myself. Anyway, let's move on. The Competition Bureau said that such action is necessary because an investigation into Google found that the company unlawfully tied together its ad tech tools to maintain its dominant market position. The matter is now headed to the Competition Tribunal, a quasi-judicial body that hears cases brought forward by the Competition Commissioner about non-compliance with the Competition Act. So it says here that Google has abused its dominant position in online advertising in Canada by engaging its product that locks market participants into using its own ad tech tools, excluding competitors and distorting the competitive process, Matthew Boswell, Commissioner of Competition, said in a statement.
I don't think this is exactly the same issue as the US-based one, but maybe it is.
So it is. But this article goes into greater detail than any of the others because they mentioned DoubleClick for publishers and its ad exchange called AdX, both of which were actually acquired properties. And then it had its own AdWords, AdSense, and then it also bought YouTube, which generates a ton of revenue because of its ad interaction. But look, everybody is using Google for advertising because it is the dominant force and early mover. You can go anywhere the hell you want to go. Go sign up for something else and pull Google stuff out of your sites.
Right, but you want to be seen on Google because everybody's using Google.
Because everybody's using it. And while I have a problem with the idea that everybody's using one solution, that is the beast that society has created. So it's up to society to change that direction. Unfortunately, there's so much money owned by by few people that if you start up a competitive ad platform and you say you're going after basically being a competitor in that space, all Google has to do is drop a couple $1 billion in front of you when you get that effective. And the fiduciary responsibility towards investors means that you have to take the money because it's better for the investors than it is to hold on to it and ride the long tail of this and grow and grow and grow. You would have to argue with the board and then define it in such a way that it is more advantageous for investors to not say yes to the vote when it comes around to voting for what the business does. Because once it goes public, the CEO steers the ship, hired by the board, but largely directed by all of the shareholders unless you break it out into strata of stockholder. So the worst thing you can do for a growing business is get investors involved. But the only way you can make a company blow up and be a competitor against Google is to have investors. And then you run the risk of somebody like Musk coming on board and defiling all that is righteous about a business, usurping authority, and then punting the founders. That's what happens. And that's a merger and acquisition, hostile takeover included. So we've got it all wrong. The worst possible policy is to embrace mergers and acquisitions. If you can't make your ongoing concern maintain itself, then you need to close up shop and let somebody else buy your assets wholesale and go somewhere else. Not
We
exist.
seem to love mergers and acquisitions, though.
Yeah, because we want the money, and that is endemic. Nobody wants to flame out, entirely. They want to ride the wave as far as they can, profiting from it. And then when they feel like there's some downward pressure from competition, the competition can come over and go, we'll buy your place. We know you're hurting. We'll buy your thing, right? So keep the pressure on Twitter and let it flame out, folks. Just go over to Blue Sky. That's really what needs to be done. The downward pressure by society. But let's just say money rules the roost, and people were swayed by money in several other places. So it's just a sad state of affairs. We're moving towards plutocracy, technocracy, in pretty fast pace. So anyway, that's all that this is. This is it says the proposed breakup floated in a 23-page document filed by the U.S. Department of Justice calls for sweeping punishments that would include the sale of Google's Chrome web browser and impose restrictions to prevent Android from favoring its own search engine. So we're back to the search engine, you see. And while you said earlier that this isn't exactly, yes, it isn't exactly, but it is. It's anti-competitive practices that have led to this.
Well, that's what everybody goes after big tech for, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. But what are they going to do? Alphabet is the company that owns Google. They're going to break up Google, and it's going to be the Baby Bell's AT&T.
Right, and then they'll just reconstitute
as something else and then get bought by Google. And it's not anymore. We are not that. And then you have to do it all over again, which is what people are looking at AT&T about. Again.
Right, and then we'll see the thing, right? Isn't there now something like AT&T and Bell in a lawsuit, but they're basically the same company?
Yeah, because the lead cables in a lake, like 11,000 miles, Lake Tahoe, yeah, like 11,000 miles of lead-coated cabling that Bell put in the water. But kind of like what happened with Twitter, it was renamed. And then when people said, well, we're suing Twitter, well, Twitter doesn't exist, so kiss my ass, I'm like, are you really kidding me? That's not cerulean blue. It's sky blue. So no, that's not the color. Oh, God, you changed the name. You didn't change the color. Anyway, has nothing to do with Twitter.
We've definitely got some non sequiturs going.
That's okay. So what's going to end up happening is we're going to break up this stream, and that's going to bring us back to the front page of ohmTown.com. And Mayor Watt's going to say bye, and so is the sentient AI.
Goodbye. Good night, ohmTown citizens. Thanks for joining us for Non Sequitur News. We will have another episode for you tomorrow. Plus, we have our weekly shows coming up this weekend.
Exciting times. Bye-bye, everybody. Oh, and that saying, may you live in interesting times, was actually a curse, not a blessing. Bye, everybody.